in his narrations. Okay? So then the question is, how do we know that a narrator is accurate or not? How can we make that judgment about him or her? It's not arbitrary. Okay? There's a method to making that judgment. And it's actually simple, but it's something that people take for granted. We mentioned that we look at his hadith, right? We have to look at that person's hadith. When we look at that person's hadith, and this is something that you would get from the previous lesson when we talked about the pathways. When we look at an individual's hadith, he's going to be narrating from someone, right? He would say, Haddathani fulan, so and so told me, or akhbarani fulan, so and so informed me, right? So he's going to give us a chain of narration, and he's going to give us the sheikh that he heard the hadith from, correct? So when we look at his hadith and we look at him telling us who narrated that hadith to him, then we have to ask ourselves the question, how many pathways are in this hadith, or excuse me, how many pathways does this hadith come from the generation prior to the generation of the narrator that we're investigating? Okay, do you follow me? Right? Is he the only narrator? Or are there two, three, or more narrators narrating the same hadith from the same sheikh? Okay, do you follow me? So once we ascertain the answer to that question, and let's just say that the answer is there's four other people that narrate this hadith from Sheikh Fulan. Okay? So that means we have a total of how many people? 5 people narrating a hadith from Sheikh Fulan. Okay, are you with me? So if we want to figure out the accuracy of a single narrator from that group of 5, then what we have to do is what? We have to compare all 5 narrations. You see? And if all 5 of the narrators agree with one another, then we make the judgment that the hadith is accurate. You see how that works? Okay? And that's just for one generation, one tabaqa, right? So the muhaddith, his job is he's going to examine each generation that's in the sanad of a hadith. You follow me? So the dabt of a narrator is going to be judged according to, or excuse me, it's going to be judged by comparing his narrations from his shuyukh to the narrations of his peers from the same shuyukh. You see how that works? Very, very important. Okay? So when we see that a narrator is in agreement with his peers who are narrating from the same sheikh or the same shuyukh, then we can say with confidence this individual is an accurate narrator. Why? Because his narrations match, as they should, the narrations of his peers from the same shuyukh. Very, very, very important. All right, is that clear?